Hey guys, so my father called me a couple hours ago and he said to me, so what separates you from Charlie Kirk ideologically? The implication of that question was, why why is my channel not as famous as Charlie Kirk's? Something to that effect, right? It's always a question every parent wants to, or at least every Russian-speaking Jewish parent wants to know. Why are you not as good as him? Good meaning, more successful, so to speak. I said, yes, the only thing that really separates us ideologically is the fact that he believed that a certain Jew was the Messiah, and I don't believe that. But other than that, we pretty much align in everything. Love for Israel, love for Jewish people, love for humans, wanting to talk to them, even if you, well, here's where I'm going to get to that, even if you disagree with them. So, folks, I used to be able to do that. And here's where I told my father, I can't do that anymore. Not because I'm like older or, set in my ways or whatever, right? Maybe like a, Orthodox Jew, and I can't stand listening to woke people, which is true. That's not the reason, folks. The reason is because I don't have the patience. I really don't have the patience, folks. You have to understand, this guy, right? And I say this with a major l'chavdil, in the Jewish world, in Judaism, in the history of, our nation, we had very few people who could stand or even sit for hours and hours and listen to the grievances of people. For hours on end, right? Different people with different grievances, right? In this case, it was grievances or questions or maybe even challenges, debates, right? Folks, we call those people tzaddikim, righteous ones, basically saints. It's a mistranslation, really. Folks, Charlie Kirk was able to do that. That's what separates me from Charlie Kirk. I cannot sit at a campus and talk to these people. Because honestly, guys, I don't have the patience. You need first of all, you need to not have contempt for them, which I do at this point, right? You need to remove your ego in some ways, which I'm not able to. What do I mean by that, folks? Listen, I'm not an Einstein, I'm not the most intelligent guy in the world. My problem, self-admitted, if I come across somebody who I deem as less intelligent than me, but thinks that they are as intelligent or more intelligent, or thinks that I am stupid and that they're smart and I'm stupid, it upsets me greatly. It upsets me to a point where it's like you ever see on sometimes on American Idol, it's always the people who cannot sing who have the most chutzpah, right? It's always the people who can't sing for shit, pardon my language, who are tone deaf, who go up on stage, right? Folks, it's like that with these leftists. I have no patience for that. The people who think they're geniuses come up and they have this, this chutzpah, this like, it's a bad chutzpah. And they think they're the shit. They think they're like, they know everything and they're gonna they're gonna corner you with their brilliance. Folks, I don't have patience for these people. I call them flaunters, the people who flaunt things, right? Actually, by the way, guys, it doesn't even matter if it's right wing, left wing. I have no patience for people who flaunt. Show-offs, there we go. And a lot of these kids are show-offs. Let me tell you about this. You know, this like tone. Folks, Charlie Kirk had infinite tzaddik-like patience for this kind of stuff. And he did it for hours. And he said, they asked him, why are you doing this? He's like, listen, when people stop talking to each other, that's when they can devolve into dehumanizing each other, not seeing each other as a human being, but abstraction, just a set of ideas, right? Like some kind of a vessel or a crash test dummy with a set of ideas. And then when that happens, eventually you could just, when you dehumanize them, you can what? Hurt them, right? Physically harm them. Folks, the person who did this to Charlie, I mean, I believe he was, paid to do it, so to speak. He did it because he saw Charlie as an abstraction, at best. And a threat, really. Folks, the thing is, what happens is when you do this to these kind of guys, you create a martyr. You create a movement. You're successful. You participate in fomenting and keeping alive a movement, as opposed to silencing. Yeah, you silence a guy, but you're not silencing the people who are with him. Ideologically speaking, spiritually speaking, that's not going to happen, folks. Again, major lahavdil, you see. The Lubavitcher Rebbe passed. Look at all these years later. Chabad grew more and more. To the point where it's a worldwide thing. And brought more and more Jews closer to Torah mitzvot, right? In that way, Charlie Kirk, his legacy, the people who, so to speak, were his students or were his colleagues, can continue to bring, I guess, the ideas of, let's say, exceptionalism. Yeah, American exceptionalism. Because as I said before, guys, this place was founded on biblical principles, specifically Tanakh, Jewish Bible principles by non-Jewish men, largely, for the most part. So yeah, guys, it's going to be perpetuated. They killed Charlie, but they didn't kill the ideas. You can't kill an idea, right? As, by the way, our enemies have shown us. All the commies have been, the commie leaders, so to speak, have been wiped out, but the ideas remain, right? On the flip side, right? On the wrong side of the equation, so to speak. Yeah, my friends. So that's really what separates people like us and people like us from people like Charlie Kirk. It's not really ideology per se. It's much more than that. It's much more than that. It's the ability to connect with people with whom you don't think or with whom you perceive that you cannot connect to. And even if you have a horrible argument with them and they call you names and wish all kinds of horrible things at you or to you, if you have the ability to just say, okay, like this person, at this moment they're unhinged, but who knows, maybe they'll come around to what I'm saying later, right? Again, like I said earlier today, it's like you put the file on the computer. Maybe later they'll actually, run the program, so to speak. But the file is there. It's always going to be there. So, yeah, my friends, I mean, first of all, to say that this was Horrible loss would be an understatement. I don't think the country has fully internalized what just happened. And I think that it is in fact a very pivotal moment. It's either going to go one of two ways. Either cooler heads are going to prevail and people are going to realize, oh my God, okay, maybe we've taken this, so to speak, too far. By we, I'm talking about leftists, guys. And the so-called left of center media, who are like these quote-unquote self-styled moderate Democrats, right? Who just wanted power, right? Or the uniparty or the deep state or whatever you want to call it. They're going to have to realize, like, hey, maybe it's not worth it to keep perpetuating these basically BS ideas, all because we want to hold on to power. Maybe it's not good to continue this hypocrisy. Or they're going to keep going. They're going to keep trying to incite and instigate. That's the word I was looking for. More violence, meaning, folks, I was a hockey player growing up, and you always see, like, two guys fighting, right? One of those guys was the instigator. One of those guys is the guy that pushed the other guy into the fight. Sometimes it used to be that the referee used to actually give a penalty to the guy who instigated the fight. He would get, 5 for fighting, and then the other guy, the instigator, used to get the instigating penalty. That doesn't happen anymore so much, right? So, folks, we have to be now like that guy, who's, whatever, standing in front of the net. The forward who's standing in front of the net, trying to get position in front of the net. And the defenseman is whacking away, and the goalie is whacking away, hacking away at us, right? Cross-checking us, hacking, slashing. Doing everything possible to draw us into a conflict. Draw us into retaliation. And by the way, guys, you see what happens with Israel and its enemies, right? The enemies attack, Israel retaliates, and Israel is depicted as the warmonger, the attacker, the bully, the genocider. Folks, no one looks at what started it, right? They know, but they don't give a crap, right? Just like these fruitcakes. They know they're going to be they're the ones that started, right? And when you retaliate against them, they say, oh, you see? Folks, you know how many of them just brought up January 6th? Yeah, it's all I think January 6th is what started this whole thing. It's all in the environment of January 6th. Yeah, because the left, before January 6th, folks, the left never ever did political violence. Obama never, had a political event at the home of a freaking terrorist who bombed the Pentagon. That never happened, my friends. Never happened, right? Folks, January 6th, first of all, we don't have to get into this, but we understand that was a whole orchestrated thing. That's first of all. Second of all, the fact that people came there, and 99.9999% of the people who were there, which was a lot of people, didn't do anything. Didn't do anything wrong. And just the fact they came there because they were fed up. They were fed up with what was going on. Big time, folks. So yeah. So they were fed up. And just one sec, guys. So prior to that, you didn't see this kind of stuff, guys. From the right side, from the right wing. You never see it. Political violence, guys, is a lefty calling card. Again, folks, this is why you look at something like Nepal today. Look at what they're doing. And I'm not saying it's a good thing that that their society developed to what it developed to. And folks, in Nepal, and Frank and I maybe are going to speak about it tonight. In Nepal, right? The people are so fed up. They're so fed up that they took to the streets, right? Speaking of Gen Z in Nepal took to the streets. And you see images of people just throwing communist politicians into the river. Folks, speaking of Russian Jews, there are many Russian-speaking Jews who have been saying for a while now that it may come to the point where we're just going to have to, these people are not going to stop, right? So in the Soviet Union, my friends, you couldn't do anything to them. At least not for a long time. Why? Because the population wasn't armed. Folks, if they keep pushing us and pushing us and pushing us, mostly, as you see, it's mostly with racial stuff, division, right? Not against any race in particular, just racial division. It's all the stuff with the woke, right? Basically taking, at best 0.5% of society and making it like the focal point. It's like everybody has to, it's like a little child almost, Everybody has to focus on the little baby who's who is literally I'm a little baby, you have to pay attention to me. Meanwhile, it's there's a whole house, right? Okay, so there's a baby, but and you have to give the baby what it wants every freaking time. Even though the baby constitutes it's not the focal point. The baby contributes nothing. Except for, it's a cute baby, right? Here, in this case, it's not even cute. For these people, right? They demand their rights, then they demand their, you can't say the wrong, whatever, right? The wrong pronoun, the wrong this, the wrong that. You can't say anything. Folks, it's almost as if somebody just took a narcissistic trait of narcissism and just put that front and center, right? And now we have, the whole society has to kowtow to whoever is demanding X, Y, and Z. Folks, no one is entitled to anything in this world. Not a soul. No one is entitled to be called the pronouns. No one is entitled to this and that. Absolutely no one. The only thing you're entitled to is not being, having your views and not being unalived for them. But you're not entitled to force other people to, say what you want them to say, or vice versa. That's it, guys. Anyway. folks. So it's we have a choice. The country has a choice to make, and the choice is, I mean, maybe it's interesting, guys. In a way, it's maybe a shkacha protest that this happened today. As horrible as it is, but because tomorrow's September 11th, right? And tomorrow we're gonna wake up, and Bezat Hashem, and we're gonna hear, all the family members, the people saying their names of family members who they lost, and maybe, just maybe, we'll realize. It'll make us realize that, hey, at this point, it's not about left wing or right wing. It's about, somebody attacked us, and they didn't really care for who we voted for, right? 24 years ago, a bunch of orcs attacked us, the same kind of guys that attacked Israel. Same exact ideology, identical. So maybe tomorrow, guys, for like a couple hours, we're gonna realize, hey, shit. We have to remember maybe what Charlie Kirk was going for here, and maybe do our best to emulate him as much as we can, even if we have absolutely zero patience. Zero. I mean, when I say zero, I mean zero. For the other person's absolute ridiculous drivel. But yeah, we gotta talk, because if we don't talk, somebody once said, we have the Second Amendment just in case the first one is, becomes like obfuscated, so to speak. Just in case the first one is taken away. That's why we have the second. To protect the first, so to speak. So, it's really that simple, guys. Just the first two. Everything else is commentary. Alright, guys. Be safe out there.